Good morning. After 203 games and 616 goals, there is only one game left in the Europa League. It's time for the big one, the Europa League Final. My name is Jack Collins and this is the UEFA Europa League Breakfast Show brought to you by Kia. And joining me today is one of my favourite football podcasters and writers in the world, Mr. Vithushan Ehantharajah. Vish, welcome to the show.
It's far too kind, but thank you for having me, yeah.
You must be pretty nervous ahead of tonight's final.
Well, now that you've said it like that, yeah, I'm feeling pretty nervous. But I was actually quite excited with your intro, and I hear you're a Europa League stan as well, so some of that was rubbing off on me. But generally the way it goes for cup finals, for big games, from my perspective, I'm excited, then nervous. So about an hour before kickoff, I'll be a bit of a wreck. But no, it should be a really good game.
Coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at all the big storylines ahead of that matchup in Gdansk. But before we do so, Vish, your work as a journalist, as a broadcaster, has taken you all over the storylines of the Europa League this year. What have been some of the standout moments for you?
I suppose in terms of a work perspective, I ended up covering quite a lot of Arsenal, which was nice to go to their games, and quite a lot of their Europa League campaign was kind of helmed by the youngsters, and we saw that kind of spill into their domestic season as well, which was nice. In terms of a kind of a standout moment, I have to say, I'm a big. I mean, we're all big goals fans here, aren't we? And
it's the Europa League. That's
exactly, yeah. So it's got to be for me, Kim Roof against Standard Liège. That little dribble and then blitz from 60 yards. World's opening up. I'm playing a bit more five-a-side. I'm reminding myself of my own mortality and also how hard football is. And for someone to have the legs to do that on the 92nd minute, let alone kick it that far as well, that was, that's got to be the standout moment for me above what has been a pretty incredible campaign.
In terms of outstanding performances, the one that jumps out to me is Mislav Oršic's against Tottenham, and the way that he just took that game by the scruff of the neck.
If I came to you, Jack, and I said, what would be the ideal setting for your hat-trick? You think you'd want a banger from out wide where you cut and curl into the top corner, a mazy run in there as well. Everything was on the line as well. Bear in mind that Dinamo Zagreb were 2-0 down from the first leg against Spurs. And then the fact that the hat-trick wins it in extra time just adds a bit of everything to it, yeah.
We talk about storylines a lot, right? And the Europa League has been full of them. And perhaps none better this year than Granada, right? This is their first campaign. To get to the quarterfinals in the way they did and to knock out Napoli, to beat PSV Eindhoven, how proud they were to be part of this competition was incredible.
Yeah, and the way I think that's the great thing about these cup competitions is that it's just, it's just that you and me. It doesn't matter what you're doing at home. You come to the Europa League, you've got to bring your best self. And Granada, as you said, did that consistently throughout.
These players know what it means. What a wonderful European final. How about that?
So let's take a look at how both teams have got to the final. And I want to talk about Man United's run first, because this was by no means easy on paper. You look at the actual route they had to go down, and they played three of, I would say, the hardest teams to face in this competition in Real Sociedad, AC Milan and Roma. It's not been an easy ride on paper, and yet United have dominated, especially against Villarreal and Roma in these games.
There has been a sense that they've grown through these European excursions where they've thought, actually, we belong in this, I suppose, in this company, as it were, because, the domestic form over the last couple of seasons has been a bit neither here or there, and I think the fact that they've pushed themselves as much as they have, on the weekends has been a byproduct of seeing off those kind of teams and playing in quite an expansive way as well. The Roma game was, I suppose, a hark back to that Champions League tie a few years ago where they just flexed their muscles, really, puffed their chest out and thought, no, we deserve to be here. We're going to get into that final and we're going to wipe the floor with anyone who comes our way.
Yeah, well, is that a massive positive for United going into the final? Because you're looking at that and going, look, we've already faced some giants, and we know that Villarreal are a good side, and we know that they're going to put up a big fight here, but we've faced sides who, in the likes of Real Sociedad, for example, who United crushed over two legs, who are above Villarreal domestically.
Yeah, and now you're getting the natural pessimism out of me, because now I'm like, oh God, this would be the perfect time for them to fall, wouldn't it? Yeah, they've seen off all the big ones.
It's not on a Thursday night, it's on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, well, exactly. See, yeah, they're totally out of sync. Yeah, they'll be great for Thursday, but might be.
We've heard from both camps ahead of tonight's final, starting with Manchester United.
Uno sabe por un poquito de experiencia que tiene de que son partidos que se ganan en los detalles Y bueno, sinceramente va a ser un muy lindo desafío para Manchester, para el equipo.
It's going to be a special moment. You're going to be proud being able to lead a Man United team out into a final, and it's been a fantastic journey.
We're so close to being a team that can compete and win trophies every single season, and maybe winning this title, this Europa League, can give us that little push that we need.
It's just a step on the road to bringing our Man United back.
So we obviously heard from Marcus Rashford there, and he was part of the squad that won this tournament back in 2017. And that experience and the experience kind of in the camp as a whole, I think, is something that looks to be in Manchester United's favour here.
Yeah, you always look at finals as a time for adults, really, don't you? United have some young, vibrant talent, but you need the big people, the big boys to step up, as it were. And you've named a few of them there. And I thought it was interesting that United teams, I suppose you wouldn't traditionally think of them as having quite a high turnover, but if you look at that 2017 final, I think of the players that took the field, it was Pogba, Rashford and Martial, who are still with the squad at the moment, and Ajax had one in Donny van de Beek as well. So yeah, Cavani's obviously going to be a huge influence. I think you've seen how he's done over the last season, and I suppose just how magnetic he's been, and as someone who is a true leader without needing an armband.
I think it's interesting that Ollie's management style appears to be putting the kind of focus and putting the ability to make those decisions in the hands of the players on the field who clearly trust to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way of putting it, because I think if you see the way that Manchester United play, they're very much a quick team in transition. They go from back to front as quickly as possible. Bruno Fernandes is obviously a key part of that. You'd almost term him as the accelerator in terms of you get him in the ball and then suddenly progresses you so much. It's been a long, hard season. It's been a lot of graft, a lot of energy expended, but they're going to need to be at their sharpest and quickest, really, if they're going to really, take Villarreal apart.
Well, we'll certainly see how he gets on tonight. In the Europa League this season, we've seen so many moments that show us just how unpredictable this competition can be. Not just goals, but skills, saves, deliveries, the whole lot. Tonight's Europa League final will certainly give us more of these moments, and this is your moment. We've got a special competition to tell you about, where you could win prizes by predicting the unpredictable moments in this year's final. All you have to do is follow the link in the description, choose one of 5 scenarios that could happen during the game. You'll then be given a randomly generated 1-second time code for the final, and if your chosen moment happens at this time during the match, you could be a winner. This is the Europa League final. Pick your moment, get your time, cross your fingers.
Creo que nosotros, a nivel de Europa League, de esta competición, creo que desde el primer partido nos lo hemos planteado con mucho respeto hacia todo, hacia la competición y a cada rival que nos hemos enfrentado. En fase de grupos nos tocó un grupo que es verdad que a lo mejor a priori éramos favoritos, asumíamos el papel también de favoritos en ese grupo.
Hemos competido muy bien, tanto fuera de casa como en casa. Creo que no hemos perdido en ningún partido. En las eliminatorias hemos estado muy seguros.
Pero como si fuese un partido más a la hora de ser nosotros, de implantar nuestro juego que hemos hecho durante todo el año y de no hacer nada nuevo, sino a seguir haciendo lo que nos ha llevado a poder disputar esta final.
De pasar esa barrera de jugar la primera final en la historia del submarino, ¿no? del Villarreal.
Y claro que es un premio evidentemente para la gente, para el pueblo, para los jugadores, pero yo creo que sobre todo para el club.
All right, let's look at Villarreal next. And they've had a reasonably tricky run too. This has not been easy. And some of the obstacles in their path, you look at Jesse Marsch's Salzburg side, who was certainly no pushovers. You look at them playing Dinamo Zagreb just after they'd come off that high after beating Spurs in such emphatic fashion. And then they played Arsenal, who, of course, Unai Emery used to manage. So this hasn't been smooth sailing on paper. But actually, at no point have they really looked like they were in real trouble.
Yeah, their game management has been, I suppose, something to behold, really. But there's a ruthlessness in that, isn't there? There's just a calculated way of like, it doesn't matter what you can do to us. We can absorb all that and counterpunch you at our will.
So there's injury concerns on both sides, and Villarreal could well be without Samuel Chukwueze, which is going to be a big miss for them if he is missing. But also United could well be without Harry Maguire, and that's something that I think will give Villarreal heart, because he's so important to this team, not just in terms of ability, but actually in terms of leadership and bringing the players up around him. And with the likes of Gerard Moreno and Paco Alcacer and Carlos Bacca, that's something that they will look to attack.
Well, I mean, you've convinced me with that. I think, yeah, to be fair, if you're a Villarreal supporter and you see that team sheet come out and Harry Maguire's not there, you know, you're thinking you're in here.
I mean, finals are always special occasions, but I suppose you don't really understand what it takes to play in one until you've played in one. So we spoke to a man who's a bit of a hero at both clubs, as well as being the man of the match in the 2010 UEFA Europa League Final, Diego Forlan.
Hi, Diego. How are you?
Very good.
Fantastic. So a really exciting season finally coming up. The season's final between two clubs that are very close to your heart. How special is this final for you personally?
Yeah, very special. Yeah, you know, I like both of them. You know, I became a fan of Manchester United, also Villarreal. And yeah, it's going to be difficult to watch the game, but my heart is going to be divided. And I don't know, it's going to be difficult for me to choose one side. Man United, you know, when I was there, you know, it's a big club, one of the biggest clubs in the world. I was surprised how everybody knew everybody. It does look from the outside as a big club, massive club, which it is. But then when you get inside the club, you get surprised how you know everybody. It's like a family. So I was really, really surprised. But it's something that you really appreciate.
That's incredibly special, particularly for a club of that size. Tell me how Villarreal compared. How was it for you there?
Yeah, for me it was great. Different club. You know, small club. There was everything. You know, in that moment they were starting the project. I arrived to a place that it was small, sunny, different as Manchester United, which was raining every day. You arrive there, you know, everything was great. It was a great time, different, but really, really nice experience as well. So yeah, different clubs, but both of them passionate.
So as well as those two big clubs, you've also played for another one in Atletico Madrid, who you got through to the finals round with and won the competition. Just how special was that for you to reach a final with Atleti?
Yeah, it was really special, you know, because it was not the same Atletico Madrid like that is now. So yeah, that moment, you know, was rare to think of winning a title with Atletico Madrid, and we had the chance. We had that one opportunity, and we won that title against Fulham. But we got the chance and we took it.
Take me into the mind of a player on match day. What will players be experiencing on the morning and throughout the day on a final day like this?
It's adrenaline, you know, 100% adrenaline for everybody. Go to sleep thinking about the game and wake up, try to have good feeling, good things, you know, during the day, you know, like some people like to see TV series and other people like to, I don't know, listen to music. I always like to read something, or sometimes I have some TV series that they are special for me. Friends, for example, I watch it many times.
Were you a big Friends fan?
Yeah, big one. Yeah, very big one. I started watching it when I was at Man United. Yeah, great one.
Amazing.
I was full of energy, you know. No, I knew that it was going to be a good day.
So you scored twice, so were man of the match. How did it feel to be out on the pitch when you're in a moment like that and just everything is going for you?
It felt like I was a kid when many years ago when I dream to be a football player. When I was a kid, I was watching always football, and I watched great games, great finals, and they were finished with one goal at the end of the game. So for me, it was something special. It was unbelievable.
Diego, just finally tell me, how do you think this game is going to play out? I know that's very difficult for you to predict. And would you give any advice to any of the players that will be on the pitch come kickoff time? What would you give them as advice?
Try to enjoy as much as you can. I know it's difficult. You enjoy if you win, yeah, but before that, to get to be able to win, you need to perform well. So if you want to perform well, you need to enjoy.
I won't make you pick a team because it's just too hard, and I feel like it would be unfair on you as well.
No, it's difficult. No, for both of them, it's important to win a title, of course. For Man United, it will be one more of many they have. And for Villarreal, it will be the first one, which will be great for them because it's a confirmation of everything they've been doing really well. So I don't know. I wish them all the best for both of them. It's tough for me to pick one.
Diego, thanks so much. It's been great to spend some time with you.
Thank you very much.
This is where we head to social media, but seeing as we've just spoken to Diego Forlan, this is how happy I was to be at the 2010 Europa League final before that man broke my heart.
There is a real sense that you don't know what's coming and you just want to go back in time and warn that young Jack about just go home now. It's not going to get any better than this.
Yeah, exactly. How happy I am. I can tell you there are no pictures from after the final.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be quite cruel if someone forced you to pose after that kind of heartbreak, yeah.
It's a funny one though, because you look at the 2010 final and it was obviously the first under the rebrand as the Europa League. And I think that competition as a whole set the tone for what the Europa League was going to be. So not only is there 120th minute dramatic winners in the final, but the fact that Fulham were there in the first place, having started in the first, preliminary round and getting through right to the end, 16 games to get to the final in that tournament. And you look at it and think, wow, that's something that we've seen across the Europa League. It has become the kind of blueprint for beautiful chaos. We'll move on then to a nice little stat here that Yeremy Pino of Villarreal could become the youngest player ever to win the tournament. He'd be taking over from one Robin van Persie. Obviously, we'll have eyes on this game as well.
Well, as you were saying before about the Europa League being, a place where chaos reigns, I mean, like chaos and youthful exuberance, that kind of comes together, doesn't it? We've all lived those lives. And what a story it would be if he ends up on the winning side here.
Well, someone who has been on the winning side in this competition for Manchester United was Antonio Valencia, and in announcing his retirement earlier this week, he shared this image of his own tattoo of him lifting the trophy, and it's a really lovely tat.
He's one of those players actually who really United fans grew to love him, and the fact that he was able to win that, obviously he's won league titles, but he that photo, I think it holds, United fans have a lot of affection for it, and it kind of sums up what he's about really, because he was always a big team player.
And that blue kit, which I've always sort of really liked.
I know, yeah, you can't really say that about Manchester United in blue, but yeah, I thought it suited them really well.
We wanted to get some perspectives from both sides of tonight's final, so we've brought in some very special guests. Earlier this week, I spoke to world-famous musician and avid Manchester United fan Tom Grennan, and also Spanish football expert Guillem Balagué.
Hi Tom, thank you so much for joining us on the Europa League Breakfast Show. And from a Villarreal perspective, we're joined by the one and only Guillem Balagué. Guillem, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Tom, seems only right to start with you as a Man United fan. How long have you been a Man United supporter?
Ever since I was born, really. I remember, I don't remember, but there's pictures of me as soon as I was born, having a Man United baby grow. So it was kind of put into me as soon as I was born, and then I've always been attracted to the badge. I love it so much, the devil.
You weren't a bad footballer yourself, by all accounts.
Yeah, man. I played football again from the moment I could walk, and then I was all right from like in my teenage years, and then I was going to go out and play in America. But like I say, music kind of happened, and I'm kind of glad it did. I played football last night, and I've absolutely lost it, mate. Not going to lie.
And there's always this talk, right, that the music and football has that kind of crossover. Is there a bit of you that looks at music as kind of that extension? There's that crossover between the two?
Footballers want to be musicians. Musicians want to be footballers. But I feel like they play an important part anyway, like with crowds singing, with cultural football and music together. It's like they come in hand. So, yeah.
Guillem, you've been around the Villarreal camp recently. Tell us, what's the mood like?
They're in the final. They are in the first final. So you can imagine there is excitement. There is the fact that they have absolutely, in my eyes, absolutely nothing to lose. So they know that they're not the favourites. But they've proven to be a team that can beat anybody in this competition.
Most of the football world will know Manchester United's story. They'll know those powerhouses. But tell us a little bit about Villarreal's journey, because they were only promoted to La Liga in 1998.
Wow, well, you look back and what you see is an old-fashioned club, if you like, done in a very modern way. So it's the local millionaire who had this dream and invested on it, not a huge amount at the beginning. So he arrived, this is Fernando Roch, who's got a tile empire, really. And it was a 3,000-seater stadium that was falling down and a bunch of fans. That was it. That was what Villarreal was. Fernando Roch said, give us 5 years and we'll be in the first division. And people laughed at him. 8 years later, they're in the semi-finals of the Champions League. So it's wonderful because they haven't done it by going on debt or banks or funding outside the club. It's actually been run very, very well by selling players with the help of the owner, of course, Fernando Roch still being on top of things. And it's one of the nice stories of European football. They are succeeding already. It's a massive success story.
Lately I've been waking up in a dreamy state, calling your name, stayed up too late, just thinking of you.
One big thing, I suppose, about this final is that fans will be finally allowed back into the stadium, right? And you'll also be back on tour in September, playing in front of thousands of people around the UK, including in Manchester. How important is it to feed off that energy, you know, compared to what it has been, I suppose, for the last couple of years in stadiums and that?
To have fans in a football stadium or in a music venue is just, that's why we do it. Do you know what I mean? To make the fans happy.
You've just had a #1 album. Firstly, congratulations. And secondly, how does it compare to something like United winning a trophy?
I couldn't believe it. I was pretty shocked by the whole thing. I still am pretty shocked by the whole thing. It's like Man United. If they win a trophy, I'll be shocked by the whole thing. Do you know what I mean?
How important is it to get European silverware back in the trophy cabinet?
It's an important thing to win a trophy each year, and United haven't done that for a while. So I don't know, clarification as well. Just knowing that we are a good side and we are capable of winning trophies and being up there with the best, because we are the best.
Guillem, we look at this squad and it's full of plenty of talent. How has Emery guided this group to the final?
What was interesting in his first meeting with the squad, he asked the squad, what's the target? What do we want to do? And they all looked at him and said, Europa League. I mean, you know how to win it. So why would you take us there? And he kind of went like, he didn't expect that. And he's like, well, the biggest thing here is that to enjoy the journey, to enjoy the training, to go day to day, follow me, trust me, I'll take you to the best you can be. But then he came out of that meeting, we're like, wow, the pressure. But that's what he carries with him. But yeah, he's taken it to the final as the players demanded at the beginning of the season.
Where are you going to be watching the final, Tom? How have you kind of coped with not being able to go and attend live games, to be in the terraces? Has it been a struggle?
Yeah, man. Like, I do like getting to the football once in a while, man. But I'll probably just watch it at home. I'm so used to watching it at home now. I've got my comfort and I can just be in my own bubble and watch the football and hope for the best, mate.
Guillem, I suppose we're going into slightly uncharted territory here because this is Villarreal's first major final. But what will the town be like tonight? What will the city centre be like tonight? Where will the fans be watching this?
Bars will have their televisions outside on a bar table and chairs around, and there will be no cars driving in that part of the city, I'm sure. And I imagine it will work like that. It's obviously a new situation for everyone. I don't think anybody knows how they're going to celebrate this one. We'll have to see.
Finally, Tom, predictions. Do you think you will be waking up Thursday morning with another trophy in the Old Trafford cabinet?
I do think we'll win. I feel like it's going to be a hard game, but I do feel like United are coming home with it for sure.
Guillem, as you can see, Tom's very confident. But I suppose from the other perspective, will Villarreal feel that they can do this?
If they win, fantastic. If they don't, they should be loyal to themselves, because for the players that are coming through, for the players that will be signing in the summer, for the ones that are there, it's about, okay, we didn't betray what we're about. And for Fernando Roig, he will come out as proud, with or without the cup. With the cup, he'll become a little bit heavier, but I think he's a happy man anyway.
Tom, thank you so much for joining us on the UEFA Europa League Breakfast Show. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. Come on, you Reds. Come on!
And thank you so much to Guillem for joining me and giving that Villarreal perspective.
My pleasure, Jack.
Along with our partners at Kia, we've been highlighting some of the best celebrations from the Europa League. Here are some of our favourites from finals gone by. So there's some classics there, but what was your favourite?
It's got to be Daniel Sturridge. I think it's striking enough that people want to replicate it, but it's also repeatable as well, and he's made it his own. So I've got to go for Daniel Sturridge.
Well, now you've said that, obviously I'm going to have to ask you to do it, because James Alcott came on the show and gave us a fair rendition of it, to be fair to him.
Well, the thing is, with everything locked down, I haven't been out on the town, so I'm feeling a little bit rusty, so I might take a pass, but I might come back and do it for you.
Well, I hope to see it at some point. If you do want to see someone inspired by some of these celebrations, Kia have partnered with 1 Million Dance Studio, who have been inspired to incorporate some of these celebrations into their dance routines. For that and a whole lot more, go and check out Kia's YouTube channel. Top 5 time, and as it is final day, I had to ask Vish to put together his list of the top 5 Europa League final moments.
In at number 5, I'm going for Eden Hazard's last game as a Chelsea player. Obviously beat Arsenal 4-1, and he was an integral part of that. As he has been through a lot of Chelsea's success, and I thought it was the perfect way just to cap off what has been a tremendously, I suppose, fruitful stint for him and Chelsea fans. And it's not often that you get to dictate your terms when you leave, and a lot of people leave with bad blood. But the fact that he left, having given them another bit of silverware, was, I suppose, the perfect ending of that particular chapter in his career. Especially given that he missed out on the 2013 final. It felt like a nice way to kind of come back to it and crown it, finally get his hands on that trophy. And I think, a lot of the memories that Chelsea fans have of him, it's nice to know that you're not just thinking back to an early part of his career. His very last game, he went and did that, yeah.
What's in at number 4 then, mate?
In at number 4, I'm going to go for what I term as Lukaku final. He had a brilliant 2019-20 campaign at Inter Milan. He was reaching kind of original Ronaldo levels, and then the stage was set for him to get that win, I suppose, off his own back, and he gets a penalty that sets Inter Milan on their course to go 1-0 up against Sevilla, and then it just comes all crashing down within 90 minutes where he ends up scoring the own goal that gives Sevilla that win. Inter Milan end up losing 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, Shakespearean levels of tragedy in the idea that he was so brilliant for the whole campaign, but also at the start of the final.
You know, if you look at Romelu Lukaku, what he's done this season, I'd say he's pretty happy with himself.
Yeah,
so maybe it was a happy ending for everyone involved, yeah.
What's in at number 3 then?
Number 3, I am going for the 2015 final between Dnipro and Sevilla. And I think we've talked about the chaos of the Europa League, and I think what you get in that final, and what we've got in a few finals actually, has been that kind of basketball nature of back and forth. And, you know, Sevilla do what Sevilla have done in this competition, but Dnipro were there, like they were in it from the start, and didn't fall their way, but you know, from my point of view, it was a thrilling game to watch. Yeah,
it's a funny one because obviously Sevilla claw it back. Sevilla do what Sevilla do in this tournament, but the man who was, you know, their hero, cometh the man, cometh the hour in that final, was Carlos Bacca, who we spoke about already on the show, but he's got that pedigree of being the guy in European finals, in this competition's final.
Yeah, I think I see someone there who you just wouldn't want to come up again. It
was just sort of visceral levels of, you know, how hard he hits the winner. That leads us on nicely to number 2.
Number 2, Branislav Ivanovic's winner in the 2013 final, not least because, you know, we spoke about earlier about, you know, designing the perfect hat-trick, but, you know, match winners, we all have an idea, it's the striker, it's that kind of, you know, the leading light. And the celebration as well, you know, he goes off on one, and he celebrates like a man who's not really used to celebrating, which is, you know, adds to the charm of that goal.
And that leads us nicely on to number 1.
Yeah, number 1, Radamel Falcao's masterclass in the 2012 final. For me, it's the second goal. He does this Cruyff turn to get the ball onto his left, and not only does he put a defender down, but I think he does it through the cameras as well. You know, one of the great things about finals is that it gives you the platform that you can either take or you can, you know, shy away from. And he was at the peak of his powers at this point. He was just unstoppable. Obviously, we know his finishing ability because that's something he never lost, but there was a stage where he was just rapid. He was built like a cruiserweight boxer and he would just bounce people off, and he was just a complete package in that final. In my opinion, that's one of the most complete individual performances we've seen in a Europa League final.
This is the point in the show where I usually ask my guests to make some predictions, but seeing as it's the final, I think we're a little underdressed. That's better. So, Vish, what I want to know is, who is winning tonight's final?
I'm going to have to say Manchester United just like this, don't I?
And what's the score going to be?
I think the score is going to be 3-1.
And who scores first?
Edinson Cavani is going to get there first.
Quick shout out to James Alcott, who was the only guest to correctly predict that the final would be Manchester United against Villarreal. And to be fair to him, he doubled down on it. Don't forget that you can get your predictions in using the This Is Your Moment game on UEFA's website. Well, Vish, all that's left for me to do is say thank you so much for joining me today on the show.
Honestly, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to all of you at home for watching. From all of us here at the UEFA Europa League Breakfast Show, enjoy the final and we'll see you soon.